Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Welcome to where energy meets the divine, and to this fun podcast that I'm enjoying completely. As some of you know, I did radio for at least 14 years. I spend a lot of time in the present, so I don't always remember details or history. But I'm enjoying this very much, and it sounds like everyone else is too. So I'm so grateful we get to have this playtime together where we also really learn about insight and consciousness and awareness as much as possible in ways that are really fulfilling and helpful for you. When people start to wake up, and when I say wake up, it's not like we're asleep and then all of a sudden we awaken. We're awake in a certain way in the world. We live our life a certain way in the world. And then what happens when we have an awakening is we just begin to have more consciousness. And consciousness means you have more of a fuller understanding of what's really happening around you, not just what your logical mind is focusing on. And we get really busy in our lives with work. And if someone has a family, a pet family, extended family, we get really busy in the world, and we don't allow ourselves to really have more of a multisensory perception. But truly, that's one of the reasons why we come to Earth, is to learn how to have experiences in the physical so that we can expand our experiences in the non-physical. All of us are manifestors. We are constantly manifesting all the time. Now, when you're not very awake or your consciousness isn't very expanded, it doesn't seem like we're manifesting. It seems like stuff just happens. Sometimes we're lucky, sometimes we're unlucky. But where your mind is and where your energy are in alignment, whether you're conscious of it or not, aware of it or not, is helping you to manifest. So the universe doesn't have judgments. It doesn't think anything's wrong. It doesn't go, oh my gosh, don't go to that college, or study this instead. It does offer you in a very loving, compassionate way, like, oh, I think a different partner would be better for you, or try this university over here, or wait before you go buy that house. Everything's going to change. Just wait a few more years. Everything will change. So the universe is offering in very loving, compassionate ways information to us. But if you're not very aware, then we can't hear it, see it, or feel it. We don't know that this conversation exists. And so we don't go, oh, this university would, years later we go, oh, that university would have fit my needs. Or, oh, if only I'd been single until my late 30s, that would have been beneficial for me in my life. Or, oh, having kids really wasn't necessary for me, even though I'm sure most people who have children love their kids. So it's later in life, if we're still searching for some alignment or consciousness, we, go, oh yeah, that would have been better. Oh, this would have been better. So one of the ways to raise your consciousness, which all of you are doing, that's why you're listening to this podcast, because you're already awakened. You're already waking up. It's already happening to you, or you wouldn't be attracted to someone like me. You wouldn't be listening to these podcasts. You wouldn't be calling in and asking questions, because you're already awakening. So in order to really allow more of this expansion to occur, it's going to be important for you to recognize that you are manifesting your life, and you're manifesting your life in the way that you're manifesting it is because you're wanting to change some of your perceptions. That's one of the reasons why we come to a physical reality, because the premise is if you can change some of your perceptions in a physical reality where it's really black and white, but you can shift your perception, that means when you leave Earth and you go off to the heavens, you're going to have an even more expanded quality of existence. Everything's about perception, belief systems, recognizing that, listening to this channel, you've probably changed a lot of your beliefs from childhood or what your parents taught you. What's really great, I think, for parents is don't teach your kids anything. Let them teach you. They're smart. They're intelligent. They're fresh from God. They don't need a lot of the practical things that people think that they need. I mean, some kids do. Obviously, some kids do. Maybe their soul's not as old, and they need a little bit more intervention. But beings fresh from creation actually know what's going on, and their parents, it would be in their best interest if they just took notes and listened to their kids, because their kids have quality information that can help them to expand. So now that you're becoming aware of like, oh, everything isn't exactly like I thought it was, weird. And so people are wondering like, well, okay, then my spirit guides are talking to me, or my departed loved ones are talking to me. The universe is communicating with you all the time because you're an integral part of the universe. And so you're part of the conversation, whether you're conscious of it or not. Yes, all of that is happening. And it didn't just start happening. The universe has been talking to you. Let's say if we're talking about this current lifetime, before you went into utero, before you were born, before you took your first steps. So this conversation has been happening. You're just becoming aware that it exists, which I'm sure many of you are already beyond that point, and that this conversation is occurring on your behalf. And the conversation can feel like a feeling. It can be an image that you receive. It could be an auditory sensation, right? It can be an auditory sensation. I was once foolishly picking up one of my girlfriends. It had snowed a lot. Seattle is not a snowy place. There's probably one snow, machine per city. So it's not like when it snows here, everybody just stays home. The schools close down, even if it's just an inch. We don't have the infrastructure to take care of it. And it gets kind of bone chilling cold, or it can in Washington state. So ice is prevalent when it starts to snow and at certain temperatures. So foolishly, with several inches of snow that had been going on for days, I decided to pick up one of my girlfriends, because we knew if we could get out of the area that we lived in, that we could go buy groceries or go get a cup of coffee somewhere. But her home was at the bottom of an extremely steep hill. And I had like a heavy SUV, so I'm thinking, no brainer. And she hadn't ventured out of her house, clearly. And as I'm very slowly creeping down this extremely large hill, I start spinning around and around and around. And thankfully, the street was really wide, because a lot of people had parked their cars on the street, so that because they got out of their driveways and they wanted to have access to them. I don't know how they got out of that neighborhood, but I'm spinning, and I felt incredibly calm, because I kept hearing a voice. You're doing great. Everything's fine. You're doing great. And I've never taken any defensive driving classes. I do love to drive, but I managed to even park at a curb with no damage to myself or the surrounding vehicles. And someone had witnessed this spinning effect. A human being had, who was in their home and came out, who was a firefighter, and knocked on the window and said, "Good job." I'm like, thanks. I don't even know what happened. So we are always guided. We are always protected. We are always cared for. And what you're all learning, and I feel like I'm still learning too, because I love to learn, we're learning to recognize, to hear, to believe in the support and the love and the compassion that's coming to us. So this support is always calm. It's compassionate. It's kind. And it's a little surprising. Like when I heard the voice, I was surprised, but it was almost like that. I allowed that voice to kind of take over my bodily functions through the kindness and the calmness of it, so that I could do something that I apparently naturally know how to do. Maybe I was a race car driver in the past. That's why I love cars and I love to drive. Who knows? Right. So in order to allow yourself to have more of these experiences, so that you don't just have them when you're on a steep hill spinning around and around and around, which is, we're all grateful for whenever they come. And when we're in some sort of drama or trauma, we're even more grateful that those sounds and feelings and experiences are there. But we want to have them all the time, constantly, all the time. And so in order to do that, we need to recognize that fearful information, which is coming from your mind, there's nothing wrong with your mind. It's just humans don't use the brain accurately. That's it. Once we reach a tipping point in the human race, which I don't know, I don't think it will happen in my lifetime, but I'm more optimistic than ever before. I didn't think it was going to happen for hundreds of years. And now I'm like, wow, people are waking up in droves. Once that consciousness reaches a certain tipping point, a certain percentage of earthlings, humans living on earth, then collectively it will start to just move through all of the population, and we won't be relying on our brain for all the unnecessary things, from the fear and the anxiety and the doubt, which is what causes depression, what causes anxiety, and what causes attention deficit disorder, and all of those things. Although kids really need to move, they cannot sit in chairs for 4 or 5 hours a day. It's inappropriate. It's not healthy. So meditation, being present, finding things that make you happy, spending time in those happy things, that's your homework always. And along with that, falling in love with you, because the universe loves you so much, that if you can feel authentic love for yourself, you're going to recognize these conversations. You're going to recognize the help. You're going to feel love and joy just because, which you deserve, which raises your vibration, allows you to have more fun and discover more incredible things about yourself or the world you live in. All of that is normal and natural. And so I'm grateful that we're all together on this journey. Yeah. So welcome. I'm going to go to the phone lines now for those of you who are new to this channel. If you go to energyintuitive.com, mariemanuchehri.com, click the podcast page, there are instructions on how to leave a voicemail. Do we have hundreds of them? Yes. Will it take me a little while to get to yours? Yes. Will we notify you when we do? No. We don't have time for that. This is my way of giving back. I have a very full schedule. Classes are a great idea if you'd like to learn more. It's a great way to connect with me through a class. I teach them all live. There are some things on my website that are pre-recorded, but it clearly states that. But under the course page, everything is live. And you can learn a lot in a class, a ton. Okay, so now I'm going to the phone lines, and we're going to listen to this voicemail, and I'm going to give my intuitive personal advice to whoever is calling in. But what some of you have discovered is that you could get information for you too. And I think that's true when we listen to clairvoyants and channelers and psychics, that the information that is being delivered to one person could positively affect the masses. So I hope that you find that to be true for you.
Hi, Marie. My name is Debbie. I'm from Western New York. I started listening to you way back. I heard Suzanne Giesemann recommend you. So I've been listening to you for a while, and I'm getting a lot of insight and just love your work and your show and everything that you do. I've been really having trouble formulating a question. Not good with articulating my thoughts, but I'm going to give it a try. A fun question. I always wonder, am I an old or a new soul or somewhere in between? But my real in-depth question, I guess I wonder how much of my issues are biological, how much are more something more energetic or emotional energy issues. And I know they interact. I know that. That's the hard to articulate part. I guess I wonder, should I see an endocrinologist? Is there something more like energy wise I could do? Not that I'm an expert in that, but learning. My issues are always have been anxious, like OCD, ADHD. Hormones affect me, the premenstrual syndrome, not so much the cramps, but just the moods. So sensitive to those female hormones, and in these menopause years it's more. Symptoms include like emotional regulation, moods, verbal impulsivity. I'm really working on it. Modern medicines, also therapy, mindfulness, things like that. I guess, I wondered, am I on the right path? And I've heard you say recently that most cases of anxiety are more from a person's like thinking patterns than biological. And I wonder your thoughts on like which are mine, and just like anything more I can do to try to help myself be a better version of myself. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm sorry for all of that stress and anxiety. And it's from your mind. People overthink and analyze. When I look at human beings, it's just like when I'm walking down the street or, in a store or whatnot, the majority of people keep their energy in their brain. So let's say we have 100 gigabytes of subatomic particles. I'm sure these phrases don't really go together. And all these particles, they're supposed to move throughout the entire body, from your toes to your head, constantly moving up and down and refreshing and recharging organs and physiological components of the physical form. But the majority of humans put like 80% or more of their energy in their brain, their head. And that focus of energy keeps them in this addictive, unhealthy absorption of overthinking, analyzing, and processing everything. Now, part of waking up or consciousness, as I spoke about in the beginning of this particular podcast, is people start to not listen and they start to create quiet moments. They begin to meditate. Meditation is really to help us train our mind. Yes, we can have incredible moments in meditation, but not every single meditative encounter has incredible moments, at least based on our understanding of incredible moments. It's really helping us in vast ways that we couldn't possibly imagine. And people don't have to just sit down and close their eyes and hum, in terms of a form of meditation, walking a dog, doing slow yoga. I like to make everything meditative, which is kind of a Buddhist practice. I love washing dishes and being very present, even though I have a dishwasher. I like the suds and the hot water and just really being present, staring out at nature can be a form of meditation. So if you can learn to get this would be the long-term goal, to have 20% of your subatomic particles in your brain, then all of this will fade away. And when people speak about biology or DNA, it's really about family patterns. When we look at consistent health issues within a family unit, we are looking at patterns, family patterns and belief systems. So for example, hopefully my sister won't mind, but my sister and I have both had cervical issues, like dysplasia. Mine, I've healed with herbs. It's happened to me twice. I think it's happened to my sister more than twice. I think she went the medical model. We're lucky we didn't develop cancer. We didn't need a hysterectomy or anything like that, but it's a family pattern. And when you look at the second chakra, which governs reproductive organs, the emotion, because every single one of the chakras has an emotion, and that's the emotion that we need to strive for, is joy, learning to be happy, not taking things so seriously, not taking care of everybody on the planet. The brain is when people are in denial. They're not looking at things accurately. And denial doesn't have to be rose-colored glasses. In your case, it's more threatening. You make everything look more difficult and terrible, which it's not true. So learning to ignore your mind will help you to see authentically and will reduce the anxiety in your body and all the other related aspects. Okay, I hope that's helpful.
Hi, Marie. This is Desiree. I'm calling you from New York City. I have a question about my dad. His name is Bob. He passed away 6 years ago today, actually. Since he's passed, I feel super close to him. In fact, even closer.
Yeah.
I talk to him all the time. I feel I've received several signs from him. And I generally feel pretty much continuity of our relationship. But my mom, on the other hand, she talks to him all the time too, but she always gets worried or frets and tells me, I think I'm bothering him too much. I think I may be asking him for signs too much, and I'm annoying him. To give you some context, my father adored this woman completely, so
Aww.
I just don't believe that personally. I feel I don't bother him, but maybe that's the self-centeredness of a child. But I'm curious what you think about this. Can we annoy our
No.
loved ones on the other side by talking to them too much
No.
or asking them for signs? I told my mom to think about it like sending him a text message, and when he
Cute.
has the time, he'll send her a text back. But
Exactly.
that's just the way I conceptualize it. But I don't really know. So what do you think? Is it possible for us to bug and annoy our loved ones by talking or asking for signs? Thank you so much for your work. I'm really curious as to what you have to say. Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome, Desiree. Great question. No, you can't bother Bob. He will come around when he wants to. He probably doesn't listen to half of the things your mother says to him. He probably is off doing other things. Some people on the other side have jobs. And a common job that I see that Bob is looking at, I've seen this many, many times in other sessions, so maybe 10 times in other sessions, is some people, when they cross over and they want to work, which it's not the same like Earth. You don't need money or shelter. So it's more authentically related to joy, is several people on the other side will go and work with children who are in hospitals, who maybe have terminal illnesses, because kids can see departed loved ones. They are very aware of the multisensory world. And many people, I think Bob is going to be doing it because I'm seeing this, they'll go in at night. The people who have crossed over, the souls will go into the hospitals at night and sit on the bed with the kids and play video games with them or board games. And the kids have this interaction and kind of act as their spiritual therapist, because kids in hospital who have challenging health issues are in kind of a conundrum. Everybody's doing everything to save their life. They might be ready to go. And it's hard to see your parents, suffering and doing everything they can, begging you to stay in your body, basically. So there are a fair amount of souls that devote their time all over the world, on Earth and places like Earth, helping kids be okay with their decisions and their choices and play and have fun and not feel that pressure, while they're in a hospital situation. So yeah, Bob's fine. We don't need to worry about people on the other side. They don't need our help or assistance. They're perfectly fine. And Bob will come and be a part of your lives when he wants to, and be helpful when he feels it's necessary. He doesn't think your mom needs all the help she thinks she needs. She just misses him. And she misses that love that he had for her. She needs to cultivate her own self-worth and self-love. That's critical and important. I hope that helps your question. Thank you so much.
Hello, Marie. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy, making all these videos and answering all of our questions. I really appreciate your positive and practical knowledge. My name is Stacey, and I'm currently living in Utah. In 2016, I stopped speaking to my mother because of her manipulation, negativity, meanness, lying to me about others, and stabbing me in the back. After many years of trying to work with her behavior, I finally had to block her from my life to protect my health and sanity. Some intuitives I consulted said our relationship is karmic from another life we had together, but they never told me what actually happened between us or what I'm here to do about it now in this life. I would like to know what I am supposed to be learning or doing about this relationship and karmic connection with my mother. As far as I know, she's still alive on Earth right now. Thank you very, very much for any answers you can provide or any messages from my guides. Thank you.
You're welcome, Stacey. So you do not have a karmic relationship with your mother. You have a karmic relation with yourself to stop being attracted to people who betray you. That's what you're working on. You're working on trusting yourself and loving yourself and listening to yourself and setting boundaries, which you set a lot of boundaries with your mom. So I would love for you to start thinking, don't think of her like you've had multiple lifetimes with her. I think this is the first lifetime you've had with her, but you each have opposite patterns. So your pattern is people betray me, they stab me in the back, I can't trust anyone. That's a belief you have in your body from things that happened in previous lifetimes. So logically there is a reason why it's there, but it's not related to your mother. She's just an actor in a play that you decided before you reincarnated that you want to heal and work on. You want to learn to trust yourself and love yourself and value and appreciate yourself so that you change your energy around you so you don't attract wackos into your life. And I know you were born to her, but you chose her. People choose their family before they reincarnate. for really, really good reasons. This is a pattern that's not uncommon for older soul types who've lived many, many lifetimes and witnessed many, many things. And older souls can be too nice. They can let people who are not good for them into their lives. This is not new. This has been going on for a long time. So when we're trying to heal this belief system or this misperception, we may choose to come to Earth and be reminded, because we forget about what we want to work on when we pass through the veil and come to Earth. So we creatively create a reality in our, an experience that we're going to have so that we will learn these things. And you set great boundaries with her. I would love it if you, at some point, start to change your language. If you think of her as a soul and not your mother, she's definitely not your mother. She's definitely not real family. Whenever we have real family in our lives, we feel loved, we feel adored, we feel cherished. Those are the trademarks of real family. So if our DNA doesn't have that experience with us, or we don't have that experience with them, they're not family. They're just souls. It's great. Everyone's really just a soul anyway, regardless. Every time we come to Earth, we've had different parents, different cousins. Souls do not always reincarnate in groups. And if they do, there could be hundreds of years in between, the different soul types, right? So it's unnecessary to continue. We don't have to heal a past life with the original characters. Your karmic wounds and devotion to changing your perceptions are in relationship to yourself, not with anyone else. You're not responsible for what she's learning. So she's learning to be selfless and to be compassionate. You're learning to be selfish in a healthy way and to learn to be self-compassionate. So it's almost like your energetic magnets are coming together so you can learn this profound, important thing. So, and I'm not disagreeing with your definition of how your mother is. Yeah, she's very difficult, she's a challenge for sure. And you've done all the right things to step away from her, because as long as everyone tiptoes around her and doesn't express or set boundaries with her, how is she ever going to know that she needs to change? She's not going to know. And it's probably going to take her multiple lifetimes to heal this wound. She's a young soul. There's a narcissistic quality within it. But I would love for you to start to think of the whole situation different from an empowered place rather than a victimization, because that's what betrays people, is when they feel victimized. And that could be a pattern in your family. It's victimization. It's not an uncommon pattern. Those are my thoughts. Okay, I hope it's helpful.
Today, I would like to get a little bit of help if it's possible. My name is Shilpa. I am from LA. I'm going through a lot of physical issues since 2015. I try to go to work, and every time I feel like things keep pulling me back with my health. I'm a physical therapist by profession. In 18, I went through a major physical problems where I ended up with mastectomy on one of my side, and had to go through reconstruction after that. Then after a year, my shoulder broke down, and I had to go through a rotator cuff repair on my right side. I gathered myself again after 5 years. I went to work last month. And again, after working like 2-3 weeks, and I was sick all the time since January. I kept feeling sick, and I still thought that maybe it's the stress of going back to work. I feel like that, but then I realized on my right breast I have some infection.
Interesting.
Again, doctors cannot figure out, just like first time, what's going on. Everything's coming out negative, but it's the infection doesn't stop. I'm scared this time again I would go through some kind of surgery, and that's what the doctors are saying, that you might need a surgery. I don't want to go through it. I would really appreciate, and if you can see anything around me, anything negative that could be causing this, and if there is any solution to it. I want to work. I love being at work, helping people. but my health doesn't support it. Every time I want to go, it's the same thing. I am held back. Please help me. I would appreciate any kind of help that you could provide me today. I love you, and I love
Oh,
all the work that you do. Thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome, Shilpa. If I said your name correctly, I hope I did. I'm sorry for all the health challenges. There's two things going on. One, and this is a family pattern, which I just referred to when I was answering Stacey's question intuitively, as you're kind of stuck in a victimization. And I think you really want to let go of victimization. And I know victimization is very logical. It's like this terrible thing happened and that terrible thing happened and I'm stuck. But you have to work on releasing the pattern of victimization so you don't keep attracting it to you. Should you be a physical therapist? No. You keep injuring your body. You keep getting sick. It's a hard job. Even when I think of nursing today, I don't think my body could handle all because the patients are sicker. They're higher acuity, which I'm sure is true in your profession as well. And so they're more work. It's a lot more work, a lot more lifting, a lot more strain on the muscles. So no. And I think you need to take things like Pilates or something to start strengthening your own muscles, that is, low impact and really great for you as soon as your body is ready. But I don't think you should go back to physical therapy. I think you need to look for a different profession. But first, you need to work on victim consciousness. So even in this moment where you don't feel good and you're sick and now you have a breast infection, it's on the right-hand side. It's about your personal power. Can you get to a different place, even for just moments of time where you don't feel victimized? Can you get curious about your body versus disappointed or trying to figure this out? That's analyzing and processing. The brain cannot give us the answers and the solutions that we need and want. It's a very limited tool. It's like a computer, period. The computer can only do so many things. It's not, even though, Apple says their products are intuitive, which I like that product very much, but it's still not an intuitive device, right? It's a programmed device. So the brain is logical. It's not creative. It can be if you're not putting a lot of energy into it. But when people feel victimized, they're processing, analyzing. So and I think you have some traumas, probably from childhoods. I would go find an aware, conscious therapist and work with them so that you can start to work on these family issues, because victimization is very deep in your family, generations and generations, mostly on the female vibration of the family of victimization, feeling victimized about this and that, and complaining. You're not complaining. You have valid concerns, but there's just a lot of this victimization. That's what you need to do. And I wouldn't go back to physical therapy. I think you should do something else. And we don't know what that is yet. We need to fix this first. So if you can financially do that, that would be amazing. If you can't, maybe go teach physical therapy or train new therapists, but don't do difficult, heavy patient work. It's not in your best interest. Your body can't handle it. And you do need to take things like Pilates. Yoga is lovely, but Pilates really works on, stabilizing core muscles. So, I love yoga and it can do those things too, but I think Pilates is safer for your type of body from my perspective. Okay. I hope that's helpful.
Hi, Marie. This is June. I live in Florida. I appreciate your podcast so much. And every time I hear it, I am wondering if you can help me solve a little problem for me. My husband and I were married for 32 years, and we had 4 children. And then very suddenly he got sick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
With cancer of the stomach. And it was a very rare form of cancer. It was, well, I'm also a nurse too. It was the leather bottle syndrome of the stomach. And I guess my mind refuses to actually remember the name of it. It's been real traumatic for all of us.
Yeah.
And he's been gone for 8 years, and it definitely sent me into a huge spiritual journey for many of the last few years that he's been gone. I'd say the last 4 to 5. I'm pretty much obsessed with it. Any kind of near-death experiences, spiritual
Right? It's amazing.
talks,
Yeah.
beliefs,
Yeah.
drumming. I'm just exploring all of it.
Yay. Yay.
But one thing that I'm wondering if you can help me with is the fact that he died
Mm-hmm.
and I'm here.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's some kind of a karmic lesson or a soul contract that we agreed to this, which I can't imagine I would ever agree to this. But is there some kind of a lesson in this for me? I feel like I'm supposed to be understanding this a little bit more as to why he left.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if you could help me. If you have any thoughts on that, I would so appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Of course, June, it's my pleasure to help you with this. And I clearly need to teach classes on death and dying. It's something I truly understand and actually attracted to and think it's cool and fascinating. Not that I wish anyone to lose a family member that they adore and love, but we all have to be fairly realistic of the fact that Earth is a temporary reality. So we don't know when anyone's going to leave. Anyone can leave at any time. And I wish humans just kind of took that for truth, not out of fear, but humans don't know how to really look at right now anyway, death and dying, except for from a fearful place, like, no, nobody can die. Nobody can die. No, they're going to live forever. No. Yeah. So what if we started to recognize that all souls are independent contractors? It's kind of like if you have kids or nieces and nephews or grandchildren, even if you're married into a family and you have grandchildren or, stepchildren, when they fly the coop, if you let them, because some people today are not doing that. I saw a joke recently that, grown adults, young adults are going to be showing up at their job interviews with their parents because they don't know how to do things without their parents near them, which is adorable, just adorable. But, we're okay with this premise that, okay, our kids are going to leave us. They're going to hopefully, learn a trade or go to college and then, pay for their life. Like, we're okay. We expect that. But we don't have the same peaceful understanding about death. First of all, death is not real. No one actually dies. Inside our physical body are trillions and trillions and trillions of subatomic particles, energy, which is the aspect of our true self, our true identity. We only bring a part of our soul, so part of our energy into this physical world because we can't bring all of it or we would go cray-cray. And we bring parts that want to learn and grow and eradicate these misperceptions. That's really what we're working on, is changing our belief system. We are amazing. We are incredible. And of course, we have different soul ages, so different levels of consciousness as well. And so souls make determinations how long they're going to stay in a body on Earth. And these determinations can be based on many, many different things. Sometimes souls are just sick and tired of being on Earth and they just go, beam me up, Scotty. And we have 5 exit routes, pre-programmed into our energy system. One of the exit routes we hope we choose. It could be the day after you're born. It could be in utero, because not everybody wants to live a lifetime. They just want to learn something hopefully in utero, or they want to learn something on the very first day of their birth, or they're going to live through their 99. And so Bob wanted to choose an exit where his family was clear that he was leaving his body, because you're still in denial about it 8 years later. And I don't mean denial, shock, whatever word you want to use. And so he picked a disease that can be challenging to cure because the stomach is constantly sloughing off cells. And so when people get stomach cancer, the cancer cells can continue to be sloughed and then they go into other parts of the body, right? Because they move through the digestive system. And then if the cells are moving out through the intestinal tract, they can move into the blood or other parts of the body, right? So sometimes stomach cancer is difficult to heal. And I started talking to your husband right away, by the way. When you were explaining your story, he showed up quickly and started talking to me. And he complained, not about his family, he loves his family deeply. He did not like modern medicine. He did not like what happened. He was very annoyed. I've heard this in let's say 25% of the people that I've worked with who've died of health issues, that that are pretty significant that modern medicine treats. Like a lot of souls don't like chemotherapy. They just don't like it. They don't like complicated surgeries like the Whipple, although that can be life-saving, but it's one of the it probably is the most complicated surgery. Maybe there's some brain surgeries that are more complicated, but he just didn't like it. He didn't like it because your husband was a straight shooter. This is one of the reasons why your family was so successful, because everybody was honest with each other. Not everything is always hunky-dory. And sometimes you just have to say to your family, sorry, that's just the way it is. Get used to it. He was a straight shooter, loved his family, loved his life. You're so lucky that you got to be with him for 32 years. I want you to focus on that, not the part that he's gone, because he's still very much alive and you can still have a relationship with him. Obviously, it's going to be different. But he didn't like, he felt like modern medicine for him, his doctors, his technicians, although they were gracious and kind and did everything they could to save his life, he just felt like they weren't straight shooters. He goes, I would have been happier. And I'm having a mental telepathic conference with him. So I'll tell you what I've already told him. If I just gotten some painkillers and went on vacation or laid on a beach and watched my family play, he goes, that would have been more fulfilling for him, is what he says. But what I told Bob, because I've seen people pass away in both ways, people who've treated their significant health issues and people who decided not to, or used, only holistic, which some people, if you're meant to stay in your body, you're going to get better no matter what. So if you use modern medicine or supplements or whatever, you're going to recover. You will. If you're supposed to stay if you're not supposed to stay in your body, you're not going to get better. It doesn't matter what you do. But the death looks exactly the same to me. The amount of pain or discomfort or problems is the same. I haven't seen it to be any different personally. And when I've been at the bedside of people leaving their body. And he loves this conversation. Again, he's a straight shooter, so he loves this conversation. He says, stop thinking about what we had and start thinking about where I am now and all the changes that have occurred for you. So he says, possibly because it's not like souls come together on the other side typically and go, hey, let's get married, because free will is so powerful. It's so incredibly honored. It's a really big deal, free will. Like people get to do whatever they want, especially when you come to a place like Earth, where you have less awareness. People choose all kinds of interesting outcomes. So you wanted to have an incredible partnership. Your husband wanted to have an incredible partnership. You had that, and a wonderful, incredible family. You still have that. You still even have the relationship, but you probably also wanted to grow spiritually. So that could have been something that was, oh yeah, I'm going to die early. Like you didn't know that because it's not a pre-agreement, because free will, he could change his mind and have lived longer or died sooner. We don't know. Souls are free will. This is something we really need to talk about. I guess I need to teach a class on death and dying, but you wanted to learn about spirituality, and this was the inspiration for you. And he's grateful and happy and hopes that you learn to connect and hear him and see him and feel them and enjoy your life on Earth, which is exactly what he wants you to do. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Fun. He's a really fun guy. I enjoyed that.
Hi, Marie. My name is Lindsay, and I'm in Austin, Texas. And my question today is, I listen to a lot of near-death experiences, and they all seem to say, after we leave our bodies, that we are in just this unbelievable divine love.
Yeah.
And that it's just mind-blowing, and that no matter what you've done on Earth, you get to enjoy that. And so my question is, if we all our divine love and get to be with God, be in unity of that love, why do we need to come to Earth to learn how to love? And to, if anything you could tell me to just kind of help me understand that.
Right.
And I know I don't want to get too logical. I know that
It's okay.
some, we may not know everything, and that's okay. But it's just, I'm curious and excited to hear if you have anything that may help me understand. And just to maybe put even a finer question on it, is that I know that you've mentioned before about how, let's say someone in your life passes and they're not coming through or what have you, potentially they're like a younger soul or a soul who's less evolved and doesn't have anything to really help you learn.
Right.
That potentially on Earth you are more, awakened or conscious or compassionate, and they're still learning.
Yeah.
How is that? I guess I'm just curious.
Right.
If on the other side, where all this love, like,
Right.
what is it where we have to really learn?
Such a good question.
How come if we are consciousness, how are we learning to be more conscious?
Right.
Because I understand we become like kind of less conscious when we get into our body, but like, so what's the point of coming to Earth
Yeah,
just
right.
to
Great.
learn to be more conscious? Yeah, I think hopefully you see where my point is.
Yeah.
I just want to understand a bit more about, I guess, what it is that we're lacking on the other side that we can only gain through all this contrast. Like, are our minds not as acute and we need to learn here? Anyway, anything you could share would be wonderful. I love your show. Thank you so, so, so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's a good question, a complicated question for sure. Kind of like complicated areas on Earth. So I have the experience, and what I'm explaining to you is normal, of near-death experiences every single day with my connection with the multisensory world. So people who have near-death experiences and choose to share them with humanity are actually trying to help the human race to have multisensory experiences regularly, often, like to communicate with loved ones or feel spirit or to feel loved and adored and cherished unconditionally. So the way it's been described to me, because it is a complicated question, is, when a soul is produced, it's an inspiration of, let's say, God. I like the G word, but you can use the word universe or goddesses, creation. So creation is this pure divine energy, and we're all irreplaceable parts of creation. But sometimes we have limited aspects of our belief system. For whatever reason, if we're going to get down to the how, what, where, or when, that might be complicated. But I will tell you that Atlantis, which was a aspect that was on Earth, it was actually, very, very, it was like in the water of Earth. And it was kind of they were humans, but they were more aware and progressed than we are today. So they had more gifts and talents, and somehow ego slipped into the consciousness of this civilization. And Lemuria, which was also in the Earth's atmosphere, another island, it was floating in the air though, in the Earth's atmosphere, could see what was happening to Atlantis. So the ego stepped in. And the ego is limited perceptions and awarenesses, limited, false information that's being passed to us. And so Atlantis was going to self-implode, really, right? That's what happened to it. Like when you reach a certain type of consciousness and then some ego fear seeps in, kind of the only thing to happen is implode. So even Lemuria left the Earth atmosphere kind of self-destructed because they don't believe in death. So they know that the subatomic particles will just come to another place, another essence of divinity. So sometimes in our evolutionary process, fear seeps in. And I don't know when that originally happened. I don't know if it's always been in the realm. I think that everyone is afraid of their magnificence. That's their true fear. They're afraid of their God consciousness. They're afraid of their incredible abilities. And no one has to come to Earth to actually grow. You can be in the heavens forever and continue to shift your perceptions. It's not a requirement to come to Earth. It's a choice. It's a free will choice to come to a physical reality. And typically souls who choose to come to Earth want to have more of a quick fix. Like they've been working on something for a long time. And they go, well, if I go to Earth where it's really black and white there, brown and purple, there's contrast, so I can get clarity about, wow, I really don't love all of myself. And loving even the parts of ourselves that we don't like is critical in order for it to change and start to move into those higher levels of God consciousness. So I probably am not answering this question in all the ways that you've analyzed it and processed it, but there is a really good movie that I think kind of shows some interesting aspects of this duality of worlds. It's called, oh my gosh, just left my mind. What Dreams May Come. Robin Williams was in that movie. It probably was created in the 80s or somewhere in there. It's a really good movie that shows the other side and Earth and kind of the complexity of it. It's sad because in the movie, an entire family over a period of time dies in different ways. And then they're all on the other side encountering each other. So try not to search so much for all the how, what, where, when, or why. The universe doesn't like to answer questions like that because they're time sensitive in a way. Simply just ask, please express to me whatever's in the highest good about the evolution of consciousness, because that's really what we're all doing. We're evolving. And what we're afraid of is our magnificence. We're terrified. So we block our magnificence. We hold it back from ourselves for, I don't know, all kinds of weird and strange, interesting reasons that somehow seem logical. I hope that's helpful. That was an amazing question. I hope that helps. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to go off and do other things. I wish you many, many joyful blessings. And as always, I've sent light and love to the entire world in every situation for all beings. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.